Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's story is, well, let's just say it's a little unconventional. It all started with my daughter-in-law, Sarah. Things haven't been easy between us. We've always had a slightly strained relationship, but things really hit the fan at Thanksgiving dinner. Remember that amazing roast turkey I spent hours preparing? Yeah, Sarah's reaction was less than enthusiastic. She actually said it was dry and tasteless. Dry and tasteless. I almost exploded. My feelings were hurt. I was furious. The anger boiled. I wanted to shout. I wanted to yell. But instead of a shouting match, I decided to take a different approach. You know, that comment stung. It really did. She said, and I quote, "This turkey is dry and tasteless. Honestly, Grandma, it's a bit of a disaster." The words, the tone, everything. It was a direct attack on my cooking skills and indirectly on me. I felt completely dismissed, my efforts ignored. I was devastated and honestly, a little bit ridiculous. Picture this, a perfectly browned turkey glistening in the oven light. Now imagine that moment completely ruined by one careless remark. So, I thought long and hard. How could I handle this? A screaming match? No way. The silent treatment? Definitely not helpful. Then, it hit me. I would become Sarah's landlord. This wasn't a knee-jerk reaction, folks. This was a strategic move. I was aiming for regaining control of the situation, teaching a subtle lesson, and perhaps surprisingly, improving our relationship. I figured a more business-like interaction might encourage respect. Finding the right property was a whirlwind. Lots of paperwork, calls, inspections, you name it. Negotiating the lease was surprisingly smooth. It was all very professional. No personal opinions, just facts and figures. Since then, things have changed. It's complicated. Sarah's become more respectful, at least in our landlord-tenant interactions, but it also created a new kind of distance. We're not exactly sharing recipes over tea anymore. There are some positives, but also some unexpected challenges. What did I learn? Well, a lot. I learned that sometimes unexpected solutions are the best. I learned that healthy boundaries are essential, and I learned a lot about myself, Sarah, and how families, even the most complicated ones, can still navigate tough spots. It wasn't easy, but it's made me reflect on better ways to handle conflicts. Avoiding personal attacks is key. And communication, it's still important, even with a lease in between. So, to summarize, a hurtful comment, a carefully planned response, and a surprising shift in dynamics. This whole experience taught me the importance of finding creative solutions to conflict and setting healthy boundaries. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember, even the most challenging family situations can be navigated with a bit of creativity and a whole lot of patience. Peace out. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story is spicy. It involves my daughter-in-law, a really, really bad lasagna, and a surprisingly effective revenge plan. You know, the kind that leaves you wondering, did I just become my own worst enemy or a genius? Okay, so the scene. Sunday dinner. Family gathering. I'd slaved away all day on this lasagna. I'm talking homemade pasta, slow-simmered sauce, the works. My son, bless his heart, loves my cooking. But Sarah, my daughter-in-law, well, let's just say she wasn't impressed. The insult? It wasn't a subtle dig. Oh no. She looked at my lasagna, my masterpiece, and with a theatrical sigh said, "Oh wow, this looks rustic." The tone, people, the tone. It was dripping with disdain. Rustic in her voice meant inedible, grandma-level disaster. I felt a wave of everything. Hurt? Absolutely. Anger? You bet. Frustration? Through the roof. Years of cooking for my family, perfected recipes, all dismissed with one condescending word. I wanted to scream, to yell, to throw the whole pan at the wall. But instead, a different kind of anger bubbled up, a cold, calculating anger. An anger that whispered, "I'm going to teach you a lesson, my dear." And that's when the plan started forming. Folks, so my daughter-in-law, let's call her Sarah, didn't exactly rave about my lasagna. Bland, she called it. Bland, after hours in the kitchen. I felt a surge of anger, I'll admit it. My initial reaction? A full-blown family feud. But then, I paused. I took a breath. This wasn't going to be a shouting match. This was going to be strategic. This was not a knee-jerk reaction. Oh no, this was a meticulously crafted plan, becoming Sarah's landlord. Why? Well, first, control. Living under my roof gave her a certain leverage. Let's just say she felt comfortable enough to critique my culinary masterpieces. This way, the power dynamic shifts. It's business, rent, utilities, repairs. It's all very clear-cut. Second, it was a subtle lesson, respect, a little taste of responsibility. See, when you're paying rent, you appreciate a roof over your head a little more. You value the things that are provided, including a well-functioning home, not just your mother-in-law's cooking. It's about showing that actions have consequences. Not a punishment, mind you, just a readjustment. Third, I genuinely hoped it would improve our relationship. I believe sometimes a more formal, business-like interaction can actually clear the air. It removes the emotional baggage, you know? It's not about being her mom or her landlord. It's about being respectful tenants and a responsible landlord. That was the hope anyway. This wasn't about revenge. It was about rebuilding, about setting clear boundaries, and regaining some peace in my life, and hopefully, hers. This was a calculated, thoughtful move, not some impulsive act of anger. It was about taking back my power, not in a spiteful way, but in a way that might actually foster growth and understanding. I'll show you exactly how I went about doing that in the next section. Folks, buckle up! We're diving headfirst into the wild world of landlord-daughter-in-law relationships. Remember, my cooking was deemed inedible? Well, that stung. But instead of a screaming match, I hatched a plan. A brilliant, slightly devious, but ultimately effective plan. This wasn't about revenge, it was about regaining control. So, step 1, finding the perfect property. I needed something suitable for a young couple, something charming, yet firm. This wasn't some rundown shack. It's a lovely little place. I spent weeks scouring listings online. It was a whirlwind. Remember that feeling of frantic house hunting? I lived it. Next, the legal stuff. Oh boy, the paperwork. Leases, insurance, property inspections, the whole shebang. I'd never been a landlord before. It was a learning curve, I'll tell you that. I even had to consult a lawyer. I highly recommend that step. They helped me navigate the legal minefield and made sure everything was above board. Absolutely crucial. Negotiating the lease was interesting. We went back and forth on a few things, mostly about pet policies and late fees. Remember, it's about setting boundaries, and this process really helped enforce that. I made sure to be clear, firm, and professional. No room for personal feelings here. This was a business transaction. And it was a good lesson in communication, actually. Clear contracts, clear expectations. No room for misunderstandings. This wasn't about punishing her. It was about establishing healthy boundaries. It was about turning a tense family situation into a structured landlord-tenant relationship. We even drew up a detailed addendum for trash disposal, because, well, we had experienced some disagreements about that before. The whole process took about a month of property viewings, paperwork, phone calls, and some serious soul-searching. But ultimately, I did it. I became my daughter-in-law's landlord, and the next step? Well, that's a story for another video. Okay, folks, so we've covered the drama, the insult, the brilliant plan, and the surprisingly smooth execution. But what about the fallout? Becoming Sarah's landlord, well, it changed everything. Initially, the communication was stiff, very businesslike. Rent was paid on time, every time. No more casual chats about casserole recipes. That's the positive, right? Clear boundaries. No more passive-aggressive comments about my cooking. Victory. But here's the thing. It also created a distance. We were suddenly landlord and tenant, not mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Family dinners? Forget about it. We'd bump into each other at the property inspection, a polite nod replacing the warm embrace we once shared. Was it worth it? See, that's the tricky part. The business relationship offered a needed structure, a way to navigate a troubled relationship, but it came at a cost. The coldness was palpable. I missed our spontaneous chats, even the heated arguments, honestly. I began to wonder, did I trade one set of problems for another? I started leaving small, thoughtful notes, not about the rent, but about her new plants, or a new book I thought she'd like. Tiny gestures, attempting to bridge that landlord-tenant chasm. There were moments where it felt like we were making progress, but then something would happen. A minor repair request handled a little too formally from my side, maybe a delayed response from her, and that gap would open again. It wasn't a complete failure, not by a long shot, but it wasn't the magical solution I'd hoped for either. It's a complex situation. And honestly, I'm still working on it. The journey isn't over, and that's something I'll explore further in the next section. Folks, let's dive into the real juicy part. What I learned? This whole landlord thing? It was a roller coaster. About myself? Wow. I discovered I'm way more resourceful than I thought. I handled legal documents, property inspections, stuff I never imagined tackling. It boosted my confidence, no joke. I proved to myself I can handle challenging situations with a clear head, even when emotions are running high. That's huge. Now, my daughter-in-law. This experience forced us to interact on a different level. It wasn't all sunshine and roses, mind you. There were tense moments, definitely. But surprisingly, the business-like approach created a strange kind of distance that, oddly enough, allowed for more respectful communication. We stuck to the lease agreement, period. No room for emotional outbursts about burnt casseroles. She learned to respect boundaries, and I learned to communicate my expectations clearly and concisely. No more passive-aggressive sighs regarding family dynamics. Well, this whole thing was a real eye-opener. Family isn't always about warm fuzzies. Sometimes setting healthy boundaries, even unconventional ones, is essential for peace. I learned that avoiding direct confrontation doesn't always solve the problem. Sometimes a little strategic distance can help everyone gain perspective and approach issues with more maturity. It also highlighted the importance of communication, but effective communication. Not yelling or passive aggressiveness, but calm, respectful discussions based on facts, not feelings. Ultimately, I discovered that there's a middle ground between letting things fester and exploding in a family feud. This landlord thing wasn't perfect, but it taught me that sometimes a creative solution, even a slightly unorthodox one, can lead to surprising growth and positive change for everyone involved. It's all about finding healthy ways to resolve conflict, folks. Not about winning or losing, but about building stronger, more respectful relationships. And honestly, that's priceless. Everyone, we've covered a lot of ground. From that stinging comment about my lasagna, yes, that lasagna, to navigating the surprisingly complex world of landlord-tenant relationships. Remember that initial gut reaction? The anger? The hurt? We all feel those things sometimes. But today, we saw how a carefully considered, unconventional plan can turn a seemingly impossible situation into, well, something a little less impossible. The key takeaway here isn't about revenge, folks. It's about boundaries. Healthy boundaries are crucial in any relationship, especially those fraught with family drama. My becoming my daughter-in-law's landlord wasn't about punishment. It was about establishing a clear line of communication, a professional framework where respect could flourish. It forced a shift, a recalibration. We also saw the importance of creative problem solving. Sometimes the most obvious solutions aren't the best ones. Sometimes a little outside-the-box thinking is exactly what the doctor ordered. My approach was unconventional, for sure, but it did force us to reevaluate our relationship. Did it solve everything? Nope. Not instantly, at least. There were still bumps in the road, but the point is, I learned a lot. I learned about the importance of setting limits. I learned about my own emotional responses, And yes, I even learned a little bit more about my daughter-in-law. This whole experience wasn't easy. It was messy, emotional, and definitely involved some paperwork. But it taught me valuable lessons about conflict resolution and family dynamics. So, what are you taking away from this crazy journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Did you ever have a tricky family situation? How did you navigate it? Let's discuss. And hey, if you enjoyed this roller coaster ride of a story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more real-life family drama, and maybe some tips on how to handle it. See you in the next one. Folks, that's a wrap. We've journeyed through a roller coaster of family drama, clever scheming, and surprisingly effective landlord-tenant relations. Remember that stinging comment about my goulash? Yeah, the one that almost sent me straight to the spice rack for revenge. But instead of a fiery showdown, we explored a more strategic approach. This wasn't just about winning, you know. It was about setting boundaries, about teaching a lesson, not in anger but through consequence. It was about transforming a volatile family dynamic into something, well, at least more manageable. Becoming my daughter-in-law's landlord certainly presented its challenges. Trust me, dealing with late rent isn't exactly my idea of a relaxing Sunday. But did it work? Well, it forced us to communicate, even if that communication was strictly limited to lease agreements and maintenance requests. We found a surprising level of respect, a newfound appreciation for each other's roles, perhaps even a grudging admiration for my cunning plan. So, what's the ultimate takeaway here? Is it about petty revenge? Nope. It's about choosing your battles, using creativity to navigate conflict, and the sometimes surprising power of healthy boundaries. Family is messy, family is complicated, but healthy boundaries can be the key to unlocking calmer waters. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more real-life family sagas, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss how you handle challenging family situations. What are your go-to strategies? Now, before I go, one final thought. Maybe next time I'll try a different recipe. Just kidding. Mostly. Check out my social media links on the screen for more behind-the-scenes shenanigans, and maybe even a sneak peek at my next culinary masterpiece, or disaster. See you in the next video.